I am very excited about this. This should be the answer to all of my prayers. Welcome back to another Artis Opus video. I am continuing with my horribly time-constrained attempt to get an army ready for a tournament at the end of this month. We are more than halfway through the month, so that doesn't bode well for me. And I'm doing assembly, which I absolutely detest. One of the reasons I don't like assembly is that I try my best to do it at a really high level, because a lot of the techniques that I use, dry brushing, washing, they're texture-based techniques, and if something isn't smooth and perfect and wonderful, then it really shows up. It's quite unforgiving. So, you know, it's better to put the time in at the beginning than lament the result that you get at the end. So we're here, we're doing it. I can see myself surrounded by sprues, instructions. Because the time deadlines are so tight and I might have to make some hard decisions towards the end of it if I can't get some stuff ready, I'm building and assembling and maybe going to be starting painting the stuff that I am definitely going to use in the list. So if there's any aspects that are 100% not going to change, they're the ones that I'm prioritizing for now in order to give me the best shot of having an army ready. I do have a rather hefty backup here. This is one of the massive Sons of Behemat, the giant models that Games Workshop did, and he can ally into the army I'm using, and is basically 500 points, which is a quarter of a normal army. Normal army is 2,000 points, so he's a potential backup option that I have, and is a really nice fun model, and I just have to pull him off his base and put him on another base. So that's something that I've got in the back of my mind if things don't go entirely according to plan. So let's rock on with a bit of assembly. I've had some amazingly cool bits arrive. We'll jump straight into that and let's go. All right, so it is pretty early in the morning and we have a package. I am very excited about this. This should be the answer to all of my prayers, because I do not want to have bliss barbs if I have to build and paint those models. Okay, so what we have here are teeny tiny, hopefully correctly sized. They look about the right size Demonette bow arms. Cool. I don't use 3D printed stuff ever really, but yeah, I asked if someone could do something for me, and it looks like they have. So I guess let's whack these on a model, see if the scale looks about right. And if they are, that will be incredible. Amazing. After quite a lot of fiddling, I think we got this worked out. So I have to remove the left shoulder, the bow shoulder, and then what I've done is I've removed it, put some plastic glue in, and just kind of scooped out a recess, which I've socketed the arm into. You can see it's not worked perfectly, but it's pretty close to perfect. And then the other arm, it's in a pretty camp pose, but you know, this is Slanesh, I'm sure we can deal with that. So it doesn't look like she's exactly drawing the bow, but it does look like she's just fired and is watching where it's landing. So I'm pretty cool with that. Scale seems awesome, and I think that's pretty beautiful actually. Really, really like it. So could not be more stoked with that idea and those pieces. Wonderful. Probably should have shown this before I yanked the arm off, but I've yanked the arm off. So I created this bond with plastic glue. Plastic glue is obviously made for sticking plastic to plastic. What this has done though is it's allowed me to make a kind of a trough in there and a bit of a socket. So now with a little dot of super glue, I should have something to press this into. If I need to scrape around the edges and neaten it up or put green stuff on, I can, but yeah, this is the only way that we can work out to have arms naturally join with a bit of surgery. This one's easy, just joins onto a bangle, but yeah, this side is going to take a little bit more finessing, so I think that's the way that I'll work out. Even if I chop off the little rim that's there, and of course I'll get rid of the fluff, at least I want a depression to press this into that is a negative of this ball. So carefully I need a little super glue here. And then because we've got this negative, there we go. Perfect. So super psyched for those bits to arrive. They've made a huge difference to me, you know. Where's she gone? I prefer I prefer by far the visual style, got there, here, than of the Bliss Barbs. I think that's really good. Even her little, you know, kind of like floaty teapot hand off to the side, I think kind of fits with, they're a bit camp, bit theatrical, always dramatic. The Slaanesh, you know, it's just what they're all about, as well as killing things and being horrible, obviously. So yeah, really like the style of those. They are wonderful. A couple of things that I'm making the most of in assembly. Stiff nylon brush, irreplaceable, like absolutely irreplaceable. When you're scraping seal lines, this gets rid of the fluffy bits the fastest of everything. And the other one is sanding sponge chopped to size, which I tend to use. Pinned between 4 fingers, like that. Between those two, it's a brilliant way to smooth out anything, and especially on Slaanesh, you know, you've got lots of like smooth thighs or like round snaky tail things, or you know, claws or whatever, and in the middle of those surfaces you don't want any lumps or bumps because it's just going to make washes, or dry brushing in particular, look dreadful. And obviously I'm going to try my best to use those on this army as their great speed technique. So I have to put the investment in now to be able to get the most out of the painting later at speed. So you're just exchanging, you know, more time now for a little bit less later. So hopefully when we get to the end of this, I should feel like I'm getting a really good result considering the small amount of time I'm putting in, and I've got to put in more time now to be able to be in that position. So hopefully it's all worth it. So that is it for now. Let's just jump straight into a bit of a building time lapse. You'll see me rocketing through all the essentials that I need in the army, or doing some of them. You know, let's be realistic. I'm not sure how long I can last. 2 hour stints might be my maximum, but we're going to get through all the stuff that is the most likely to be needed in the army itself proper, regardless of, you know, what strange 90-degree turns I take when I'm 3/4 of the way through out of necessity or anything like that. So 2 top tips. Number 1, if you've got clippers, always back them up to the bit that you're clipping off. The reason for that is you want to be able to control the profile that you leave on your model. So if I were to clip these like this, you end up with some weird wedge, not what we want. Whereas if we're going flush, there we go. The other thing is, if you clip as close to the edge, the end of your clippers as possible, you'll have an easier time making sure stuff leaves. Obviously, if you get that wrong though, you'll end up leaving a fluffy bit, so it's quite fine art, but you want it just about clipping everything you've got off. If you really are, you know, going through a thick bit, then closer to here will give you more power. You're just more likely to mush about with a bit that you're clipping off, and that's sometimes why you might get pitting and peering. The other thing that could be doing that is blunt clippers, not what you want. Most important thing, however, is MDF, most delicate first. Now, this is Slaanesh, so everything is delicate. But what I mean by this is, let's say you've got 2 really strong bonds and 2 really weak bonds. You do not clip the strong bonds first, because then when you, if you clip the first one off, then you've got 1 strong bond holding stuff. You clip the second one off, everything's going to move at the point at which you've clipped it, and joins this delicate, you may snap, not on the join. So whenever I'm looking at a piece like this is the most delicate one, most thin, most fragile. That goes first, this is second. Stuff at the edges, the ends, is obviously not anchored at multiple points, so I'm not going to clip the middle here, because that's going to put more stress on it than is needed. So most delicate first, and outside in, backed up with the clippers. And this should pretty much zero your chances of having anything untoward going on whilst removing your stuff from the sprue. And if you're doing something like Sinesh, look at these pieces, they're awful. I might be melting that to shorten it and make it less likely to snap in the long term anyway. You'll also have the smallest possible bits to scrape off. When scraping these, back your piece up when it's this delicate, work slowly and steadily, and just bit by bit, shave it down to the point you need it to be at, and be willing to, you know, pretty much be scraping your nails off in order to support pieces like this, because they are a real nightmare. Got a sandpaper too. Obviously that's nice and forgiving. There we go. What are you doing, Byron? Oh, don't mind me. I'm just trying to scrape my weird seahorse's third asymmetrical left breast without removing the nipple. What is my life? Oh dear. Slanesh, this is why we love you. It's so weird. I do love the models though, and everything about them, including their 3 nipples. Just a quick one, apologies for the audio. This desk is a state, my painting area is a state, so I'm going to tidy it up before I crack on. It's nice to have a tidy zone when you've got a horrible task ahead of you. Like I've even got her here taunting me at the side. She needs to get out of my sight. I'm going to tidy my desk, and I'm going to line up all the models I have assembled, just so I've got a good idea of where we are at this point, and yeah, potentially put up some preparation for the swap in the future if it's needed. Putting the giant in just to see exactly what I definitely need to be working on and work out the points properly. And then we have plan A and plan B before we get to the point where we need like plan Z or whatever. Much nicer and cleaner now. So separated by the giant, what we've got here is assembled or partially assembled, it's all partially assembled, let's be honest, stuff that is going to be in the final army as we are planning currently, and unnecessary assembled stuff with a giant kind of separating them in the middle. Got a load more stuff to do here. Obviously we're going to have to put the wings on. Just touching on this, it's a real shame to not use a piece this good and that distinctive, but there's a couple of, well, basically we can't do this because of wings. So we put wings on right in the way where that was going to join, and we could press them together, I think somewhat plausibly, but there's going to have to be another wing, so when the other wing is on we will test that out. Also, it was always my intent to paint this separately because it's just so much easier to deal with this as, you know, a piece in its own right rather than attached to the model. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to retain that. It's got such delicate joining points as well. They are asking for trouble. If I was going to squeeze them together, I'd probably squeeze them together, then, you know, like use a sculptor rope or a chain or something to attach it to some part of the mini to make it make sense, or even chop it off there. But it's got such lovely draping lines that I'm kind of loath to play with it at all. Maybe I'll just save it for something else, who knows. But yeah, bit of a shame. We'll work it out though. Wonderful thing to have in my bits box. Basically what we've got here, plus a couple of partially built for Vanguard, is the list. So we've got 5 Hellstriders, including their riders, so they are completely done. We've got 1 partially assembled Vanguard. There is 2 more partially assembled bros to join him. Just waiting, like shoulder pads, arms, and heads, basically, for those. Sigvald, who's completely done. The very base of the contorted epitome. Not a clue how I'm going to paint that one with its different bits involved. Partially assembled keeper, and then the terrain piece. Currently, this is unavailable from Games Workshop, which wouldn't be an issue, but I want to use 2 of these bits, so I need to get hold of one of those, and at a short time constraint. I might just have to paint it normally and then plan to add another of those at a future date, but yeah, we'll see about that. So there is the army as it stands. We are, again, back to the whiteboard and dodgy angles. Anyway, here is a Gantt chart. So we've got everything in the army, and then we have built, so assembly, paint 1 and paint 2. Paint 1 means acceptable standard and paint 2 means good standard. There is room here if I get the opportunity to add another one. I might put basing in its own column because I'll probably do the basing for the army separately. It'll just be more efficient. But anyway, what can we do here? So I reckon we can take this to slightly more than 50%. This guy gets fully crossed off. I realize how nerdy this is, by the way. They're on 0. These guys, we have 1 lot who are fully done. That's nice. See, this is good. I'm not actually doing anything for the army, but I feel like I'm making progress. And then we got like 3 horses assembled. For here, one of these is slightly more than half, and we have a cogs that we can put on another base. So let's say that is, well, actually all the cogs is painted. Just need to find it. All right, so that is where we are. That is not very much in total, but you know, that's what we're dealing with. So here we are. There is the mountain that we have to climb ahead of us. I think that's it. May as well outro from here. So please like if you've liked the video, please comment, please ask any questions at all you have, particularly about gaming or tournament scene. As I said in the last one, this is not a gaming focused channel to any degree whatsoever, but I know my stuff with gaming, and I'm super happy to ask, you know, if anyone's got questions they want to ask about tournaments or painting for tournaments or, you know, building lists in Age of Sigmar, do pop them below. More than happy to answer any of those. Do check out Facehammer's channel as well, because that's all we talk about there pretty much. Please subscribe and hit that bell notification to be notified for future content. A few people have asked whether I am going to be doing any type of vlogging at the event. I think I will. As people have asked, I wasn't thinking of doing that, but I'm super happy to. So if you've got any specific requests, like if you want to see me, you know, have a chat with someone that I've played after one of my games or something like that, then just pop any suggestions down below. We will take them on board and we will consider them. That is it. There is the mountain. I do feel better for having a graph though. Like, you know, it's the most nerdy thing, but knowing exactly where you're at is really helpful. It means if you sit down and you don't have much momentum, you're like, well, actually, you know, it's the gamification of everything. Why not if we're in a nerdy hobby? I can tick that off, you know, I can tick the Keeper achievement, although that won't be a fast one. Much more likely that I could tick the Hellstrider achievement in evening or something like that, but it will help me get through, and it will help us get to the finish line, which is the aim of this. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Right, so what do we do if everything goes wrong? Well, basically, we change course pretty fast.